you think of when you think of mental diseases? Do you have a family or a friend who suffers from a mental disease, such as depression or anxiety? Or have you never had any experience with it at all? Unfortunately, in the news, most cases that are told about are the more severe cases, such as James Holmes, the Colorado shooter, or Andrea Yates, who suffered from schizophrenia and subsequently murdered each of her children, drowning them in a bathtub one at a time. These more severe cases only represent 6% of the population of 57 million Americans who suffer from mental diseases. My name is Gwendolyn Durs, and I'd like to share with you my personal journey struggling with mental disease and how it has affected those in my life. Life before seeking treatment was like a darkened roller coaster. The highs and lows were unpredictable, and they were so uncomfortable that I didn't know what I was going to be doing next. However, with me being 12, 13 years old at the onset of symptoms, I didn't want to use mental disease as an excuse for what I was going through, for the mood shifts, for the risky behaviors that I started to elicit, such as illicit drug use and promiscuity. I didn't want to be seen as crazy either. I wanted to be seen as normal, although I didn't care about fitting in. It was never about fitting in. My lack of interest in hobbies and sleep invaded my life. It took over my life, and I had no desire to be the person that I once was. I distanced myself from others, and this truly hurt my family and my friends, who had always known me to be a very extroverted person who had a lot of compassion, who had a lot of empathy, and who had a lot of drive to help others. So I kept going, and I kept dealing with the symptoms until about 18 years old, when I finally had enough, when my symptoms had become so severe that I didn't even want to get out of bed anymore. So seeking treatment was my only option at that point in time. I went and I talked to my nurse practitioner. We did blood tests. We had extensive interviews. And finally, she gave me a diagnosis of mood disorder, which encompasses depression, anxiety, and manic depression, which is bipolar disorder. At first, she started me off with Celexa. It's an antidepressant that I take once a day, and it helps me get energy. It helps me get motivated in life, that I can face the day, that I don't feel as though I'm all alone all the time. But the Celexa wasn't enough. So eventually, she got me on a little white pill called Buspar. Buspar is an anti-anxiety medication that I, at this point in time, take 2 times a day to combat my panic disorder and to combat the anxiety that I have in everyday life, which is debilitating. Still yet, the Buspar was not enough, so we turned to an as-needed medication, commonly known as Xanax. Xanax, and I don't need to take too often, but it is wonderful whenever I get into a huge panic attack and cannot function at all. And I never really had too many side effects with any of these medications. My nurse practitioner wanted that for me. She didn't want me to be invaded in my life any more than I already had. But seeking medical attention was the best thing for those in my life, because slowly but surely I got back to what I needed to do. And finally, I got Depakote added to my regimen. I take Depakote in the evening. It's for manic depression, and it has saved my life. It has honestly turned my life around single-pilledly. So once I started taking the Depakote, everything turned out so much better. Mental disease is not always a condemning situation to undergo for those who are affected by it or their loved ones. With proper help, patients with mental diseases can overcome many obstacles and lead normal lives. I personally can attest to this. So next time you encounter someone who suffers from mental diseases, try not to judge or condemn them. Try to have compassion and empathy instead, and think about the extra obstacles that they need in order to keep going through everyday life. Through understanding and the proper help, I believe that many Americans who do suffer from mental diseases like me can be seen and treated in a fashion that can improve each individual's life and the society as a whole. Thank you very much.